and be able to invest?
Yeah, so we started our discussions last week. We have been talking about financial planning and financial independence.
Right.
And for the benefit of our first-time viewers, when we talk about financial independence, what we're basically talking about is getting to a stage in life where you can sustain your desired lifestyle without salary.
Right.
You get to a stage in life where you can sustain your desired lifestyle without salary. So, for example, you get to a stage in life, let's say you have 500,000 cedis in investment, and you can get 20% interest on your 500,000. What it means is you are getting 100,000 cedis interest a year. Now, if you are spending 8,000 cedis every month, 8,000 multiplied by 12 months is 96K. So on your investment, you are making 100,000, but how much you are spending is 96,000. And we want to delve down today and say one way of finding the money to build wealth towards financial independence is learning to pay yourself at the end of every month.
So this is a strategy that makes it easier to save.
Yeah, so what do we mean by paying yourself at the end of every month? And the question is, maybe you can be helpful to me.
Right.
What do we do with the so-called salary at the end of the month? Maybe if we can we can drill down on some of the expenses.
Right.
Help me out, some of the things.
Oh, well, my responsibility usually is with the children. So everything, okay, so school supplies.
School supplies.
Yes.
Who ends up getting the money? It's the person selling the school supplies. When we pay rent, it's the landlord who ends up getting the money. When we buy fuel, it is the filling station that ends up getting the money.
But these are things that you definitely need.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Oh, definitely. But the point is, 95% of the time, we work hard, we wake up at dawn, we get to work, we earn the so-called salary, and watch what we do. We pay all the other parties apart from ourselves. So you work hard, you make money, 2,000, 5,000, 10,000, you say this is my salary. But part of that money is for the landlord. Part of that money is for the school owner. Part of that money is for the food seller. Part of that money is for the Uber driver and all that. So the point is, half of the time people work hard, they make the so-called salary, but they distribute the salary.
Why is that? Because that is like the case, really.
Yes. Why is that? It is because the salary would never be enough. There is a law in finance called the Parkinson Law. The Parkinson Law explains why most people retire poor, even after earning substantial income through their working years. The law says that no matter how much people earn, they tend to spend the entire amount and a little bit more. So
is it not because the needs are probably, becoming more than what we're earning?
Yes, but it's the reason why most people retire poor. And I want to break it down with a demonstration to bring our discussion into context.
Right.
So assuming that people start work, so you start work, salary is small, young graduate or young worker. Let's say that you are earning 1,500 cedis a month.
Okay.
So let's use this bottle of water to explain the salary. So it's small, let's say 1,500. If you are earning 1,500, the expenses are small. You see the holes in here. So the salary comes in all right. Then you start spending the school fees. You pay your rent. You pay electricity company of Ghana. On the 10th, on the 15th, on the 20th, we exhaust everything. But watch the salary and then look at the holes or the expenses. We can use the holes to represent the expenses.
Okay.
Now, as salary increases, so let's say salary increases from this level to that level. Once we move from this level to that level, so you start work, you were earning 1,500. Now you're earning 6,000 cedis a month. Once you move from 1,500 to 6,000, most people will also move their expenses from the little holes you see here to bigger expenses.
So once you earn more.
Once you earn more, So
the appetite grows as well.
Exactly. So we start you maybe in a chamber hall, self-contained, a small apartment. Once the salary increases, you're looking at a 3-bedroom house. You're looking at a decent community, and the expenses increases.
Won't that be too much of a jump? Is that the reality? I mean, moving from, let's say, a single room self-contained to a 3-bedroom house.
Oh, it happens.
The salary has.
It happens over time, and it's so subtle that most people don't realize it. So salary moves from this level. Now you're a CEO, and it's like this. Once we get to this level, expenses for most people will also move from this level to higher level. Now we are spending so much. I did a seminar with a company where
I'm going to bring you an invoice though.
Yes.
You've done a lot of adverts for Voltic this morning on my platform.
Well, I have no relationship with them, just to explain the point.
Indeed.
But I did a presentation somewhere, and a gentleman said, Paul, you came to talk to me.
Share with us.
I have a problem. Let's sit down and talk.
Right.
My salary is not enough. I've even borrowed money from subordinates. How much do you earn a month? I wish you could guess. This is about a year or 2 years ago. This guy was on a 40,000 Ghana cedi salary.
And he said it wasn't enough.
Exactly. Because of the Parkinson law.
Good on him.
As the salary increases, the appetite also increases.
Indeed.
So for most viewers watching our show this morning, I did something on Saturday. I was in a presentation. I asked the audience to pick their current salary and divide by their first salary when they started work.
Right.
So for example, if your current salary, you want to try it, if your current salary is, let's say 5K, and your first salary was 500 cedis, 5,000 divided by 500 will give you 10. But what is the meaning of the 10? The 10 is the number of times your salary has increased. And interestingly, one lady got 205 or so, meaning that the salary has increased 205 times.
That much times.
That much time. So I asked her, is the current salary enough? She said no. And I asked her, was the first salary enough? She said no. So the first salary was not enough. It increased over 200 times. It's not enough. Because as the salary is increasing, lifestyles are also changing to match the salary. And we are teaching that if you want to be financially independent, then you need to learn to pay yourself at the end of every month. So what is the point? Whatever salary that comes to you, the so-called salary, you know, people normally do the reverse, where they spend on the expenses and then check what will be left to invest. Okay. But it must be the reverse.
The reverse, which is? You
pay yourself first before you spend.
And are you able to share those percentages?
Yes.
How much should I, you know?
Yes, I recommend the 10-20-70 principle.
10-20-70.
Yes. If you believe in tithing like I do, you pay your tithe of 10%. If you don't believe in tithing, you can still give 10% to society. But everybody who is a worker, whose income is limited to salary, and there is a difference between income and salary. Salary is what an employer is giving to you. Income is in total what you are getting. If your income is limited to only salary, I recommend that you keep at least 20% of that salary for yourself. So 10% for tithing or to society, then 20% minimum for yourself, for investment. And then the 70% will be shared by the landlord, Ghana company, Ghana Water, electricity company, and all the others. So minimum 20%. If you could do more, fine, do it. Don't do the reverse. Because when you invest 20% of your salary, you will not die. Don't forget somebody earns far less than your salary. And that person probably has a family. And the children still go to school. So if you spend a little less and you are investing a minimum of 20% of your salary, you are not going to die. So my recommendation is 10, 20, 70%. If you can do more, do. But minimum, start with 20%. anytime you have a salary increment, I encourage you to increase the percentage a little more.
So you're earning more, and all of a sudden you're beginning to think of all of those big financial decisions.
Yeah.
At what point, or how do you draw the line, really?
It doesn't matter the salary level. My point is, if you are earning 100 cedis, invest 20%. Pay yourself 20% of the 100 cedis. If you are earning 10,000 cedis, still pay yourself a minimum of 20% of that 10,000 cedis. Because you see, if you earn 500 cedis and you tell me, and I know, I mean, if we are going to have people calling in, the point most people are going to make is the salary is not enough.
No salary is. I'm sure even Bill Gates is complete.
Exactly. The salary is not enough, and the salary would never be enough. So my point is, if you're earning 500 and you cannot save a little of the 500, if you cannot invest out of the 500, if you get 10,000, you cannot save part of the 10,000 because it's a cultural thing. It becomes part of your life.
Right.
You know, so it doesn't matter how much you earn. It doesn't matter your level. The recommendation is a minimum of 20% is for you to keep. It's your salary.
Why does this method work?
This method works because it gives you a sure way of saving money and then investing it. I even recommend, if you can, put a standing order on your account. So you know you are paid on, let's say, 24th of every month. Put a standing order for 25th or 26th. Immediately salary hits your account. Automatically, more or less, you are putting financial planning and the journey towards your financial independence on autopilot. Once the salary comes in, part goes directly into investment. It's the only way to secure the future. And don't forget, we're talking about financial independence. It's not going to happen, last week I said it, it's not going to happen in 2 years. It's not going to happen in 3 years. I recommend minimum 5 years. Look at between 5 and 20 years. Anybody who takes this conversation serious and you are religious with what we are recommending this morning, whether you like it or not, you're going to be wealthy.
Well, if you just joined us, this is a very interesting conversation for me. I'm learning so much. Thank you once again for coming through. It is all about how you can save more money, you know, for yourselves, even as you look at, you know, those windfalls. And we're going to be explaining in a short while what windfalls are. But I want to look at exactly the situation on the ground in the real world.
Yes.
Does this really work?
It does work. My dear,
how much of what you've told us has been practice, and how much of it has worked?
It's working for those who are practicing it. It's not easy. That is the truth. Because if you are earning 10,000 and you have been spending 10,000 cedis every month the last 1 year, and today I'm here telling you that cut it down to 8,000 or 7,000, it will require some lifestyle changes. But the point is, within maximum 6 months, you will adjust your lifestyle to it. So if it's a choice you need to make. Last week I mentioned the fact that financial independence is a decision. If you have made that decision and you want to be financially independent, then you need to take the discussions we're having serious. You need to start practicing that 10, 20, 70 principle. If you don't want to build a financial future for yourself, fine. And don't forget that, my dear, people have worked hard, they have retired, and they are struggling with their finances because they never prepared for the future whilst they were working. So if you are taking what we are discussing serious and you surely want to be financially independent, then this is one of the several strategies we're going to be discussing on this show. Pay yourself at the end of every month. And
this is not limited to business owners only.
No. It's even more important for the average worker.
Let's look at the ordinary woman on the street selling, you know, coffee broke man, for instance.
Yes. The ordinary woman on the street selling coffee broke man, the plumber, the electrician, I would say that still, so they are not on a salary to say that I am going to be investing 20% of my salary because they are not on a salary. I say that recommend an amount for yourself for investment every month. I don't care, it may be 20 cedis a month, it may be 50, maybe 200, but have that culture. Let it be part of you that every month I am putting away something small for my future because I want to secure my financial future.
Yeah. Listen, I'm particularly concerned because we have said, and yourselves, you know, all of you experts in the financial industry continuously has spoken to the fact that Ghanaians do not save.
Yeah.
So if we haven't crossed that hurdle, how do we get here?
So savings it's very elementary. It's the basic step. But beyond savings, we want to invest because when you are saving, you will not be making much on your money. We want to invest.
But in this particular conversation, we're looking at the easiest way of saving so you can invest.
So that you can invest, yes.
So if that culture of saving is not there, how do you think about investing?
It's because of financial illiteracy, because people don't understand this. And it saddens my heart sometimes when I look at the figures and the statistics. You go to a stock exchange and check the shares listed on the stock exchange and check the non-resident foreigner investor holding. Foreigners who are not resident in Ghana, how much they have invested on a stock market. And you'll be shocked at the percentages. And you realize that most of us are working hard, but we are working hard for foreigners because we don't have the culture of investing and the savings. And it's the reason why we are also having this conversation here. And believe you me, after our show last week, the number of WhatsApp messages, Facebook messages, people who have called me to say that, look, I've never thought about life this way. Thanks so much to you and then GH1 for this show you put together. In fact, I've had people come into the office to talk to me after the show last Monday. So we need to start from somewhere, and we also have a duty to help in educating our viewers that it is possible. And you'll be shocked. Some of the people I have that I manage to invest are plumbers. Some of them are teachers. Some of them are ordinary workers who don't earn that much, but they have cultivated that culture where on a monthly basis they invest something small, and they keep building on that.
So at what point does your saving become an investment?
I would say that if you can move directly from whatever you have into investment, and it's possible to sign on to a product, a mutual fund, a unit trust, treasury bills. And so you can go to your bankers this morning, for instance, and say that, look, from the month of May on this particular date of the month, move 500 cedis from my account and buy treasury bills, or move 1,000 cedis and buy treasury bills. Unfortunately, treasury bill rates are low now. They are not bad if you want to.
So not so attractive.
Not so attractive at this moment. So
okay.
At this moment,
what informs that?
Okay, so when you're looking at treasury bill, what you are doing is you are giving money to government. Government is borrowing from you. At the moment, government has restructured the way they borrow, and they are looking more long-term than short-term. So they are saying that if treasury bills are basically 91 days and 182 days investment, 3 months and 6 months, they are saying that if you want to give us money for 3 months or 6 months, this is the rate we want to pay. And at the moment, you're looking at between 13% and 15%. A year, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, you could get 25, 26% on the treasury bill. 24% on the treasury bill. At the moment is 13 to 15. Yes. But the point is that is not a problem. So if the rates are low,
at least the money is still there, safe.
Yeah.
You know.
The important point is when you are making returns above inflation, you know, inflation eats into the power of your money. So if you have 1,000 cedis today and you keep that 1,000 cedis under your bed, in a year time, what you could have done with 1,000 cedis today, you will not be able to do with 1,000 cedis in a year time. But if you have invested in treasury bill and you are making returns higher than inflation, you are still covered. But the point is there are other attractive investment opportunities, mutual funds, unit trusts, where you could make some more returns far higher than the treasury bills. So we are saying pay yourself at the end of every month and invest or windfalls.
So we're getting there.
Yes.
Before we get to explain what the windfalls are, how do I pay myself? Take us through the process.
So look at how much you earn in terms of salary. So let's say, and sometimes people would ask, should it be on the gross or it should be on the net? And my point is, if government is taking tax on my gross, then if I am paying myself, I'd rather pay myself on the gross than on the net.
And I know there might be some people out there who do not know the difference. What is the gross and what is the net?
So the gross is how much you are entitled to put it in a layman's language. But the net is, there are deductions. You pay tax. Right. So your employer says, I'll pay you 10,000 every month. But out of that 10,000, you need to pay income tax to government. If you have some loans and there are deductions on your account, you would have some deductions. So the net is what you are taking home, what will hit your pocket at the end of the day. So if you pick your pay slip, you see gross and you see deductions on your pay slip. The net is what you are taking home at the end of the day. And the simplest thing you can do is, for what you are taking home, 20% of that must go into investment. So you are on 5,000 cedi salary. Everything taken out of the 5,000, you end up with 4,000 cedis. Out of that 4,000, we are recommending on this show that 20% of that 4,000, which is 800 cedis, must go into an investment for your own future. You want to secure your future. I asked this question. Somebody sent a message and said that it was the most important question for him last week. If you lost your job today, 30th of April, how many months can you survive without salary? And for most people, they won't survive for 3 months because they haven't built anything into the future. And we are saying that start building and securing your financial future by investing at least 20% of your salary every month.
For the ordinary, Ghanaian worker, it is basically hand to mouth.
Yes.
So it would take a lot of discipline.
Yes.
To be able to begin to invest.
Yeah. You see, I understand you, but life is full of choices, and people don't get it. There is somebody who earns less than your salary. Yours is hand to mouth. Right. Somebody earns 40,000 cedis a month. It's still hand to mouth. Somebody earns 2,000 cedis, struggles with that, but somebody earns 500 cedis and still tries to invest out of the 500 cedis at the end of the month. So the point is, and it's the reason why I went through the explanation of the Parkinson law. It doesn't matter how much you earn. You can always adjust your lifestyle. For most of our viewers, if you can remember when you started life, where you used to fix your hair, 5 years, 10 years down the lane, where you fix your hair, and you realize that you are paying.
The level don't change.
Levels don't change. And as long as you keep changing the levels, the salary would not be enough. So you start life.
A little comfort because then you're working so hard and you want to, once in a while pamper yourself.
Definitely.
Feel a little good.
Definitely. Last week we were talking about high life. So you need to chop life.
Yeah.
And there is nothing wrong with pampering yourself. You see, what we are talking about is for the future.
Right.
But we don't have the future. For some viewers, it may take 10 years, 15 years to make their first million cedis. But we don't have the future. We have today. So my point is, plan for the future, but enjoy today. So there must be a balance. But what is happening with most people is we are only living for today. We are not building any future. So we are not saying that you just deny yourself of all the pleasures today for the next 10 years, the next 5 years. You may not be alive. I mean, perish that thought, but you may not be alive. It's all in the hands of God. So let's plan for the future, but let's enjoy today. So out of the 70% left, let the high life be budgeted out of the 70% that is left. You watch a number of young people, they start life, they don't have a car. Once the salary gets to a level, they get a small car. A Picanto.
Well, today you don't see small cars. right from the scratch.
People want to drive.
They want to drive
exactly
Ferraris.
Yes, but life does not work that way.
It's an issue of learning to live within your means.
As simple as that. It's as simple as that. You see, you cannot become financially independent until you have declared personal independence, meaning you are not living your life for other people. Right. But as long as you have the impression mentality, you always want to impress people, you want to live your life to impress people, it's going to be extremely difficult to become financially independent.
Let's now look at the windfalls, exactly what it is and what it does.
Okay, so windfall, it's like money that has come in by the wind. Money you haven't budgeted for. Monies you haven't prayed about, you are not expecting, and it comes in. For example, somebody gives you a gift. For example, last year was such a difficult year. You don't expect a bonus this year, but for some reason the employer says that we still want to give you a bonus. Once you are not expecting that money, you would have lived your life without that money. And when that money comes in, we are saying that invest it. Or for example, you work with a company, you didn't plan traveling, and then you have to travel and there is some per diem. You would have lived your life without that per diem, because at the beginning of the year, you never plan with your budget that in May 2018, I'm going to be traveling, and when I travel, I'm going to get so much per diem. So we are saying that for monies you haven't budgeted to receive, you would have lived your life without that money. That is what we call the windfall. So when they come, invest it. They only help you quicken your journey towards financial independence.
But as well, you want to invest carefully.
Oh yes, yeah.
What are those critical areas that anybody should look out for should they make that decision to invest?
Okay, so one, you need to define what your investment objectives are. Why are you investing money? One person, it may be to pay school fees every term when school reopens. That means you're looking at investing maximum 4 months and you need the money. For another person, it may be I want to replace my car in 3 years. So for one, we're looking at an objective of paying school fees. Another person may be replacing my car in 3 years. Another person may be I want to build investment towards my retirement. I'm now 35, I'm now 40, and I want to retire at 60. So I want to build towards a retirement fund for the next 20 years. Of course, these objectives will influence what investment package you should look at. So you look at investment objectives, you want to look at how long you want to invest money. That is what we call the investment horizon. Am I looking at 3 months or 6 months, or I'm looking at 1 year? That must also, or I'm probably looking at 15 years. That will influence where you want to invest. You want to also look at your risk tolerance level. There are people who are risk averse. I don't want to take risk at all. Those people, treasury bills are the best. Or fixed deposit with big financial institutions, you go home and you sleep very sound. But you can have the opposite. People who say, look, what is a big deal? I don't mind making 200% in 1 year. And I don't mind if I lose part of the money. In our local language, people say, Usra Windi. For our international viewers, if you are afraid you cannot win, that is a mentality of some of the people. So if you are an aggressive risk taker, then you probably look at areas like equities or shares or equity funds and all that. So your risk tolerance level will also influence where you want to look at. And you can find people who are in between, the lukewarm kind of investors, who are not aggressive risk takers and who are not conservative. They are in between, and there are different investment packages that will meet your unique needs. But I recommend that you make sure you're also dealing with a reputable company. You don't want to go and put money somewhere tomorrow morning the company does not exist. So look for a reputable company and deal with reputable companies.
So in all of this, and I'm particularly appreciative of the experiment that you just showed us. In all of this, what are you saying about savings and investment?
In all of this, what I'm saying is the average Joe watching our program this morning can become financially independent. The average person can become financially independent. The question is how? And one of the means is learn to pay yourself at the end of every month. There is an account proverb, and I will translate, that it says that Onyanseni no odi kosua obodom pewum.
Yo, translate now.
Only the wise bite bones out of eggs. Money is like an egg. When you have eggs this morning, there are a number of options. You could get a nice omelette this morning and have a good breakfast. But the same egg could be hatched into a chicken. When that chicken grows into a fowl, and you want to prepare your live soup out of that chicken, and you are biting the bones in the thigh of the chicken, what you are doing is you are biting bones out of your eggs. What you did was you deferred the consumption of your egg, and today you are biting bones out of your egg.
That is how deep.
Yes, that is deep. That is how money works. You are either spending everything today, hand to mouth, the hand to mouth syndrome, or you want to defer consumption. You don't want to consume everything today. Just like the way the egg hatches into a chicken, you want your money to grow to a point in time where you can bite bones out of eggs. And my dear, it's so practical. We have clients who don't work. I have not one, not two, I have several clients who don't work. They only live on their investment. I have one classical case of a retired professor who makes 120,000 cedis interest every month.
Wow. Yet still struggling to invest.
He makes 120,000 cedis interest on his investment.
On investments,
yes,
rather.
He's built investment over 15, 20 years.
So we're basically talking about how that you should be smart today and enjoy your old age. How about
exactly,
that?
Yes.
Paul, thank you once again.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yes, Paul is head of
financial,
yes.
Yeah, for EcoBank Securities, Wealth and Asset Management.
Indeed. I'm loving this. Yeah. We'll bring you back most definitely. And this has been our conversation. Still to come, urban gospel artist Fafa. She's live in the studio.
Jehovah Jireh, my provider, Chimamanda. Jehovah Nisi, my healer, Chimamanda. Ocean divider, my redeemer, Chimamanda. Everybody came, my comforter, Chimamanda. Onye nwelu chukwu nwelu nchekwu.